what's on tap now in the world of gardens and perennials and decorative things, whatever?
Well, there are so many things that are blooming right now, and it seems like every couple of days something else starts to bloom.
Yeah.
It is just great to get out and walk around and see what is blooming and what's finished blooming, and just kind of enjoy nature a little bit.
What? Of course, this is the end of the azalea season. What is blooming now?
Oh, what isn't blooming? Besides azaleas blooming, I've seen a lot of the lyre leaf sage, which as you're driving down the road, it's that purple spiky stuff that's coming up alongside the road. That's really pretty to see.
Is that a wildflower?
It is a wildflower.
Okay.
It makes a great ground cover in sunny areas that have bare soil. So, I mean, if you've got a sunny area and you haven't been able to grow a ground cover, it makes a really good ground cover in those areas.
What happens if you have something like ground pearls?
This is not susceptible to ground pearls, so
Okay.
that would be okay to put in those kind of a situation.
Okay, that's what ground pearls are they're the nuclear disaster. Yeah, we'll get back to that in a moment. But okay, so that would be a good ground cover.
That would be a good ground cover.
This is called again?
Lyre leaf sage or Salvia lyrata.
Okay, and by the can you get it at
Not all
stores?
garden centers will carry it, but it is a native plant, so you can get it from native plant distributors.
How about it? Can you collect it off the highways?
I don't see why not.
Okay.
You can't collect it out of one of the forests, the national forest,
Is
but
it seeded or do you?
it will self-seed.
It will sell seed.
So you can dig it up. It says if you want to collect the seed just before the shells turn papery.
Okay.
So as they're going from green to brown, go ahead and collect those.
How do you scatter? How do you seed the ground?
You would just collect it and throw it out there and just let it sit on top of the ground.
Will it? Does it get very compressed? In other words, will it fill an area very tightly, or?
It eventually will. It's not going to do it the first time you put seeds out there, but eventually will fill in that
It's an
entire area.
annual?
It is a perennial, if I am not mistaken.
Okay. I'm sorry, it's a perennial. Yeah.
That will stay green most of the summer, and then it germinates again I want to say it germinates in the fall.
Okay.
And it has that green rosette of leaves during the winter time, and then sends up the flower spike in the spring.
Okay. All right. So that's one alternative. That's one thing that's blooming right now.
Let's see. I've seen a lot of yellow things blooming on the side of the road. Haven't seen any of the cosmos blooming yet, or the tick seed. Those should start blooming shortly. But there's a lot of yellow flowers blooming alongside the road. I'm not sure what they are because I haven't slowed down to see.
That does lead to a question, and that is using wildflowers for ground cover and for decorative. Are we seeing more people do that? And is that something that the Cooperative Extension Agency is promoting?
We are seeing more people that are having issues with their lawn and not getting the lawn to grow and look like they want it to do, turning a small section of the lawn area into a meadow for pollinators.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's something that's pretty popular, that brings in a lot of the pollinators and helps those native bee populations to be able to thrive and have something to feed on.
Okay, so that's another aspect, and that is, of course, pollination.
Right.
These are okay. They're good for pollinators, and this is the season to start thinking about that. Is there not?
It is, because you want to make sure that you have blooms from early spring all the way through summer. So you'll have different things blooming from here on out, and some things, like I said, the tick seed or cosmos comes late spring, early summer, and it'll bloom for a good period of the summer, and then it dies off, and other things take their place.
Do you have to worry about irrigation and or nutrients for these wildflowers?
That is the great thing about native flowers. If they are native to the area, then they have grown up having to deal with the inconsistent rainfall, and they are usually adapted well enough that if they don't get rain or water every week, then they'll be able to
survive.
Yeah, they'll shrivel up a little bit, but they'll be able to make it through and come back again next year.
All right, we're talking with Shawn Banks of Carter Cooperative Extension Agency. We moved into the issue, started off on the issue of what's blooming. The vast majority of what you've been sharing with us has been primarily wildflowers.
Right.
Am I correct?
That's correct.
All right. And, of course, this is a season for wildflowers. Do wildflowers grow all through the summer season? I say from spring to fall?
You'll see some wildflowers blooming just about all the time through, from early spring through late fall.
So if somebody's thinking they want to maintain color in their yard, they put in a variety of wildflowers and then they transition for the season. Is that what the
Yeah.
process is?
It's just a matter of selecting the right plants that are going to bloom at different times of the season. So right now, like I said, the lyre leaf sage is blooming a little bit later on. Right now, you're just starting to see some of the blanket flower or gaillardia that's starting to bloom. It's got that red and orange colored daisy-like flower to it, and that will bloom for a good period of the summertime. Then you can also look at there's a yellow flower. It creates a mound about 12 or so inches tall. It's called sneezeweed. That's just
like
one
that.
of the common names.
Sneezeweed? Really?
But it'll bloom, and you'll see it blooming alongside the road from probably late May all the way until frost. And you've also got other things like the gay feather or the liatris that come up and have that purple flower in the fall that provide some flower for the pollinators in the fall.
Okay, and the other aspect of this also, I mentioned the question about irrigation and fertilization, but also I would assume pretty hardy plants, not prone to either fungal issues or maybe even critters.
Well, all of these will have some insects that feed on them, but you're not going to have one insect that's going to come in and wipe everything out.
Okay.
And if they do get fed on a little bit, they're going to be able to rebound right after that insect finishes feeding because it's not going to completely kill the entire plant.
Okay, I go back to something I asked you a few moments ago, and that is the ground pearls, and you've told me about that. But the ground pearls are a insect, I guess. Am I correct? Is it an insect?
It's an insect, yes.
That is just difficult to get rid of?
It's very difficult to get rid of because, like a scale insect, they once they start feeding, they will produce a hard scale-like covering over the top of them.
Right.
And that's why they're called pearls, because they are kind of hard. If you squeeze them really hard, you can pop them, and they will spew out a pink liquid.
Right.
But it's difficult to pop them unless you're really trying to do that.
Okay.
Usually around the end of April, first part of May, the crawlers will hatch out, so the eggs will hatch out, and they'll start moving around. And they are little pink insects that you can see, and that's the most susceptible stage of their life cycle is the crawler stage. But they start moving around in our sandy soils probably around end of April.
Is there anything you can do to get rid of them?
There is not a pesticide that is labeled for use against ground pearls, mostly because everything that they've tried has killed everything.
Okay.
And you don't want to get rid of everything because then the bad guys usually rebound a whole lot faster than the good guys.
All right. We're talking again with Shawn Banks, and we were talking about those items that are basically blooming at this time of year. I see a lot of trees also beginning to leaf out. That's very interesting. And of course, dogwoods are showing up, things of this nature. Anything that's unique that is happening right now that either in our immediate coastal area or anything statewide?
Well, I think one thing that's really pretty interesting is that a lot of times we won't notice things that are going on, but right now, while the new leaves are coming out on some of the trees, some of those new leaves are red or bronzy color. I got a picture the other day from what I believe, it was a little bit too far away for me to identify exactly, but what I believe was a red oak just starting to leaf out. And the new leaves on the red oak are very red. They're kind of a bright red, almost like a salvia colored red. And it was really pretty. I said, I think that's the new leaves on an oak tree. And they're like, no, I'm pretty sure that's a flower, but I'll get back with you. And I haven't heard back, so I'm pretty sure I was right.
Okay. Speaking of that, if you've got questions, obviously a good way to make contact with you is digitally through
Yes.
either social media or email, I guess.
Email is a great way to get up with us. If you have questions for me, it's usually easier for me to identify what the flower or the problem is by seeing a photo of it.
Okay.
So if you wanted to send a photo to your local extension agent, you may want to go to their website, find their email, and send an email to them. Or if you can't find an agent in your county, call them and ask them who identifies their horticulture
Well, I can
problems.
imagine you getting a lot of emails and having spent hours just going through those emails and those pictures. Question on that: multiple pictures, say from a distance, up close. should we look at certain things? Is it helpful to do more than just a photo of a leaf or something of this nature?
Yes, if you're trying to identify a plant, then what I would recommend is a distance photo to give the size and situation of where the plant
Okay.
is, and then a close-up photo of if there's flowers. A flower picture is really great. If it's just the leaves, get a picture that shows several leaves, because leaves are going to vary a little bit in morphology, and it's a whole lot easier to tell when you're looking at several leaves rather than just one.
And then this sounds like a strange question. Is there a better time of day to do it? For example, morning, afternoon?
It doesn't really matter as long as you get a good, clear picture.
Okay.
Fuzzy pictures are hard to identify
Oh,
from.
well, yeah. And I know that you've got some more details about an upcoming event with a cooperative extension agency, and maybe some other ideas. I've got a question I'm going to ask you here in a few minutes.
Okay, I actually have 2 events, so if you want me to go ahead and give
Oh,
you
yeah,
those, I'll
let's-
give those
yeah.
right now. Next Monday, which is April 22nd,
Mm-hmm.
I have a program that I'm doing with the western branch of the Carteret County Library System. I'll be talking about vegetables for summer production.
Okay.
So we'll talk about one of the big questions that I usually get during the summer is which tomato varieties do best in our area.
Right.
So I'll have a list of some tomato varieties and some pepper varieties and a few other vegetables. I think cucumbers was on the list.
What's the best variety this time of year?
This time of year, just about everything will grow because you're just getting ready to plant them. It's when it gets really hot that you start having issues with lack of production and that kind of thing. But I'll have that list with me and we can go over
Okay,
that.
so you're not going to give it to us free over the air. We're going to, all right.
I didn't bring it with me, so I
Okay.
will
Oh,
tease you that if you want it, I will get it for you.
All right. It's the Western Carteret Library in Carteret County.
It's
What
Monday
time?
night
Okay.
at 5:30 is when it starts.
All right. And registration, any cost?
It's a free event, so you can either register through the library itself, or you can go to our website, and we have a link on our calendar of events, and you can just click on that and register through
Time,
Eventbrite.
location, one more time.
The time is going to be at 5:30 on Monday night.
Okay.
And we will be meeting at the western branch of the Carteret County Library System.
And the time again is 5:30.
5:30.
All right. And how long will it be?
It's about an hour.
Hour? Okay.
Yeah. I have to be out of there by 7. They kicked me out last time.
Okay.
So.
All right. All right. We're talking again with Shawn Banks. All right. You've got other activities as well?
I do. I have I brought the flyer this time for the household hazardous waste collection days. There is one in Craven County on Saturday, April 27th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that will be at the Craven Community College on 800 College Court.
Okay.
So if you have, and a lot of people say, well, what's considered household hazardous waste? There is a whole list of things here, like if you have old cooking oil that you've been saving, drain openers, batteries, latex paint. They want that to be dry. So if you just got a little bit left in the bottom of the can, just open it up, let it dry out. Or if there's too much for it to dry out that way, put some kitty litter in there and let it dry out.
Okay.
That will help dry things out a little bit quicker. You can use oil. They'll take oil-based paints or paint thinners. They won't take anything over 10 gallons per vehicle.
Okay.
So don't bring the whole warehouse. They'll also take automotive fluids. So if you have old gas or oil or anything like that you need to get rid of. But the one thing that I really like to express or encourage people to take and get rid of at these household hazardous waste days is the lawn and garden chemicals. If you've got a little bit of fertilizer that you're not sure if you're ever going to use, or if you've got some old herbicide or fungicides, or even insecticides, if there's just a little bit in the container and you're really not sure if you're going to use it or if it's even any good anymore, you can take that. You do need to have the label on there so that they know what it is. They will not take any mystery containers.
All right.
So if it doesn't have a label on it, you're not sure what it is, they probably will not take it. So I would say probably don't even bother taking it.
All right.
But if it has a label on it still and there's just a little bit in there, it's a good opportunity to go ahead and get rid of that.
Both of those instances, the one in, I say both, you've got one in New Bern.
Yes, there's one at Craven Community College on Saturday, April 27th.
That's a week from this weekend.
Correct. And then there is one at Carteret County Health Department on Saturday, May 11th, which would be 2 weeks later.
And that's Mother's Day weekend.
Yes.
So you can help your the mother.
Mom clean out the garage.
Or clean out the
Or
laundry
under the
room.
sink, right?
Yeah, that would be good. I think they'd appreciate that. All right. So those are two events. Anything else? I'm just
Those are the two events that I know of off the top of my head that I have coming up that may
Okay.
be of interest.
all right. I got to ask you, bird flu.
What about it?
Well, I've been seeing a lot of stories about it recently. There's growing concern, apparently.
Yes, bird flu, the H1N1 or N5, I don't remember. Anyway, the bird flu has gotten into dairy cattle, and they have been transported across across state lines. So we actually have had a herd in North Carolina. I'm not sure exactly where, they didn't give me all the details, but we have had a herd of dairy cattle that had one or two instances of the cows with the bird flu.
All right. Now, will cattle survive the bird flu? Is first question. Do you know?
Most of the cows that get bird flu just get a runny nose and they get a little bit lethargic, and that lasts for about a week or two, kind of like us with a regular flu. And then they recover and they're perfectly normal and they don't show any more symptoms or carry the virus anymore.
Okay. One of the concerns I saw is the fact that if it's a dairy cow.
Right. And if a dairy cow is showing symptoms, they will not milk that cow.
Okay.
At least that's what
But
the regulations
They've got
say.
to milk it, but I mean, they probably destroy the milk.
Well, yeah, they won't put that milk in with everything else. So
Okay.
it's going to be milked separately
that would
from
be
all the other
not. That would
cows.
not be a pretty sight.
Yeah, this is true, but that milk won't get into the
System.
circulation.
Okay. All right. Has there been any concerns about? Obviously, there's concern related to human transference. Pardon me.
Correct.
Now, have you had any noted experiences of that nature?
I haven't seen anything
I
or
say
heard
you.
of anything in North Carolina. I did read an article a couple weeks ago about a case where in Texas, one of the workers that was with the cows all the
Right.
time
Right.
contracted some flu-like symptoms. He had some congestion for a little while, and then he recovered. There was another one that got pneumonia from it, but after a while he recovered. So it's going to depend if it does get into the human population. It's going to depend on how severe the infection is.
But I want to go back to the issue of bird flu. The real problem is the birds themselves, because they do not do well by bird flu. Am I correct on that?
Correct. Once they get it, they're going to eventually have to die from it.
Okay. And of course, this is a big concern related to poultry farms, an egg-laying farm, which is, I guess, a poultry farm. But-
Anything that has to do with chickens or turkeys, those that are being raised in captivity in houses where there's high concentrations of them,
yeah.
because it's transmitted through the fecal matter, they're going to come in contact with it, and so everybody in that house is going to get it. So usually, when one bird is diagnosed with it, they have to clear the entire house.
All right. Do you get called on that, or is that something else that you would call in a specialist?
That would be something that I would call the
Agriculture department?
the local specialist, the NC State Extension poultry specialist that's in our area. I would call them in. They would help collect a sample and send it to NCDA. NCDA would verify that it is bird flu
Okay.
before they come down and destroy the house.
Again, we're talking with Shawn Banks of Carter Cooperative Extension Agency. Shawn, if anybody has a concern about possible contact with bird flu, not themselves, but maybe their flock of birds, things of this nature, is there anything they should do? In other words, make a phone call. How should they handle this?
Yes, if they have a concern, go ahead and as soon as you have that concern, either call your local extension office if it's during regular business hours, or while you're thinking about it, go ahead and email your
Okay.
local extension agent. Even if, like here in Carteret County, we don't have a livestock agent here in the county, but if you would email the county extension office, which would probably be me,
Right.
I will get in contact with the poultry agent as soon as I see that email and get them in contact with you. And that way the process can get started right away.
You know, that's one of the things that with the cooperative extension agencies in the all 100 counties is that it's a proactive facility in operation. That's my observation. You're out, as we're doing here today on the radio program, making contact with the public, reminding folks about opportunities and situations, but at the same time being proactive so as to avoid some calamitous event.
Yes, that's what we're here for, is to get you that educational information, that research-based knowledge, so that you will know what you need to do. For example, with that bird flu, if you've been out hunting and then you come home, you don't want to go right into the chicken coop wearing those same boots because you
Wow.
could have that on your shoes and take it into the coop.
We're about to wrap things up, but I'm curious, is bird flu seasonal? In other words, does it require certain temperatures or certain circumstances, environmental issues? Do you know?
I'm not the specialist there, but from my understanding is it can be spread throughout the year.
Throughout the year?
Yes.
Okay. It is an important issue. And
Yeah.
as we heard just a few moments ago and I've seen the same story, that it had been transmitted to cattle.
Correct.
And this is a big issue, and I think people need to be aware of it. As we wrap it up, anything that we're missing that we haven't talked about today?
I can't think of anything other than just to say, especially on the issue of bird flu or any other disease for that matter, whether it's plant related or animal related, sanitation is the key.
Right.
So clean up after you go somewhere before you go into another area, especially with that bird flu, because if you've been out in the woods walking around where the turkeys and the ducks might be,
Right.
you don't want to take that home. So change your shoes, get a different pair of shoes on to go into the chicken coop, and
Okay.
you should be pretty safe.